What is up, everybody? It is I, Ronin. Today I'm coming at you with a learning how to play for Sprigguns. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Obviously, as I've tried to let people know, my schedule got a little bit crazy. But I do have a bunch of decks now tested on the back burner and ready to make videos about. I'm pretty good. So let's start by talking about Spriggans. So Spriggans are a new Xyz archetype. They're all fire machines, and all of the main deck monsters have a unique effect where, from hand, field, or graveyard, you can attach them to one of your Spriggan Xyz monsters as material. So it's pretty cool, and I think the best way to describe this is really the first turn combo, because the only thing you need is access to Vast Desert Gold Golgonda and a way to send Spriggan's Captain Sargis or Spriggan's Banger to the grave. So let's go ahead and start just going over this combo with the most important card in the deck, because it literally does nothing without it. I am serious. Vast Desert Gold Golgonda. So as a field spell, gives all Spriggan Xyz monsters 1,000 extra attack, and both of its effects are once per turn. If you don't control a Spriggan's Xyz monster, you can discard a Spriggan's card to special summon a Spriggan's Xyz monster from your hand. Ideally, you'll be discarding a Spriggan's monster, so that can turn on several things. Because at that point, you could equip a Spriggan from the grave to do stuff. So basically, you have your... So going just through the combo, you start with your Golgonda. Other ways to get to, of course, are Terraforming, Spriggan's Watch, as well as Spriggan's Booty. All of them do have most of them do have additional effects of gold deserts on the field. Like, for example, Spriggan's Watch usually just fetches desert. However, if desert's on the field, it lets you fetch a Spriggan's monster from the deck, as well as sending one from deck to grave, which is pretty great. Spriggan's Booty basically just stops activated effects when a Xyz monster leaves the field from an effect, which these Spriggan's monsters do on their own, but we'll go over that later. But also by sending it to the grave, you can just activate a gold desert from deck, so lots of ways to get to it. So you managed to get to your gold desert in one of the many ways that you could, so you did that. That part is done. You picked something. For the sake of... argument for the sake of combo, let's say you had Spriggan's Captain Sargis. So you discarded Sargis, and then you're able to summon an Xyz monster, and you're going first, so here's where you summon your Spriggan's Merrymaker. It is a rank 4 Fire Machine Xyz monster with 1100 attack and 2000 defense. When it is special summoned from the extra deck, you can send a Spriggan's monster from your deck to the grave. And during the opponent's main or battle phase, as a quick effect, it can banish itself. And if the materials that it loses from it banishing itself are 2 or more, you can send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard that specifically lists Fallen of Albaz, which is our Splend the Steel Express Dragon. So let's go over that one real quick. So it cards Fallen of Albaz, or another effect monster that was special summoned this turn. Obviously, we do not have Fallen of Albaz, so we have it just to send off of Merrymaker. It's pretty cool. Just during the end phase, if it was sent to the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or special summon a Spriggan's monster or Fallen of Albaz from the deck as a hard once per turn. So it's a decent send target. However, now what you're going to be sending from your deck, because you special summoned your Merrymaker, it's currently 2100 because you have your Gold Desert out, and you just put something into the graveyard, in this case Sargis. So what you're going to do after that is send the Spriggan's Brothers. So Spriggan's Brothers is a level 4 fire machine with 300 attack and 1800 defense, and if it's sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can target a Spriggan's monster in the grave except for itself to special summon it in defense position. It also has the attack effect, so I'm not going to go over that anymore. So you send your brothers, and when the brothers are sent, because they were sent from the deck, they can revive a Spriggan, which is going to be your Sargis. Now we can finally go over Sargis. So Sargis is a fire machine with 1500 attack, 2800 defense, big beefy level 8. It has the attach effect with a slight addition to it, where anything that has it attached as a Xyz material gains 500 attack points. However, its on the field effect says that as a quick effect during the opponent's turn, you can detach a Xyz material from a Xyz monster you control, and then pop something face up on the field. So basically, you now have this interrupt, but you still need a Xyz material on it, which is where you can attach brothers from the graveyard onto your Merrymaker, setting up your disruption. The alternative play is basically going through all of that, except instead of sending Sargis, you just get Banger here in the grave with another Sprigguns card. And because of Banger's effect, what he can do is banish himself and a Sprigguns monster from your graveyard, except for another copy of itself, to add a Sprigguns card from the deck to your hand, at which point you search, anything you really want, but ideally, going first, you would be searching your Sprigguns Blast. So, Sprigguns Blast is a normal trap that can only be activated if you control a Spriggan monster. It lets you choose one opponent's main monster zone, or two if you control the fusion monster that lets Fallen of Albaz. And if a face-up monster in that zone this turn can attack directly, and its effects are negated. And that is its turn. And what makes this cool is it gets around non-targeting clause because it targets the monster zone, not the monster. And that's actually a kind of neat aspect of all of these sort of like disrupty Sprigguns cards. They target monster zones, not monsters, so they get around a lot of targeting shenanigans, which is pretty nice. Now, though, the rest of the main deck is basically just ways to get to this combo and fuel it. Obviously, you want a lot of Sprigguns monsters just so you can, make your plays. Have things to discard, sending your Banger if you need to. It's very important to have a lot of Sprigguns monsters. And in order to sort of help with that consistency, we do run free Scrap Recycler, as it's just a easy way to send one of these two. And quite honestly, you hardly ever use your normal summon in this deck anyways, so it's perfectly fine. But yeah, I guess just before we go over the rest of the Sprigguns cards, generic stuff, Called by the Grave, obviously, Ash really hurts this deck, so gotta watch out for that. Pot of Disparity is pretty good. Again, you have to be careful about what you choose to banish, but the only thing you really, really need is Vast Desert Gold Gonda, so it's better if you can just look for that specific card. Let's see, you also have Terraforming, obviously, to help search the desert. Foolish Burial is another way to put our Playmakers into the graveyard. Infinite Impermanence is just a generically good hand trap. And lastly, we have our Supreme Archserpent Golgonda, and I was honestly not sure about running this one. Well, I'll let you see why when I read the effect. So, if Vast Desert Gold Golgonda, the field spell, is in play, this thing's original attack becomes 3,000. You can special summon it from hand or grave if you control the Vast Desert. And while it's on the field, so long as Vast Desert is present, you can banish monsters from the grave in order to protect it from being destroyed. So it's protection. It's unsearchable though. But then it special summons itself. It can be a big beater. But then it also banishes itself when it leaves the field if it was special summoned by its own effect. So it's a very debatable choice. I do enjoy it, and it can actually lead to some rank 8 shenanigans. I'll say I did not test that far into this, so I don't know how many rank 8 shenanigans it can do, but it can do a few. Because, special summoning Banger or Sargis, both of those are going to be level 8s. You have a free level 8 special summon, so it works out. The only other real normal summon that we want to have in this deck is Sprigguns Rocky. So outside of the detach effect, it is a fire machine with 1800 attack and 800 defense. And when it's normal or special summoned, you can target a Sprigguns monster or the field spell in your grave, except for itself, and put it back in your hand. So it's good recovery. Because again, you really do need the field spell. And at times, getting some Spriggan monsters back is pretty good, as you can just summon this if you don't have an Xyz monster, get a Spriggan back, and then fuel your desert for an Xyz summon. So, yeah, I would say run this at free. It just, it fixes a lot of the deck's weaknesses. Now for the other card, I'm not sure I should be running, but I'm doing it anyways because I need as many things to put onto my Xyz monsters as possible. Sprigguns Peed. So outside of the attach effect, his unique effect is that you can tribute him from the field and then revive a Spriggan monster from your grave. And that's all he does. Again, a very debatable choice. I mostly have it because it's another resource that we can put into Xyz monsters. But honestly, Golgonda and Peed are very debatable choices. I would say definitely run some amount of Peed. I don't know if you need free, though. Now moving on to the extra deck. We already talked about Merrymaker. Let's talk about your going second option, though, with Spriggan Ship Explorer. So it is a rank 8 Fire Machine Xyz monster, 1600 attack, 2500 defense. Requires 2 or more level 8 monsters, or you just summon it off of Golgonda, as a, because you're not dumb. And it's honestly a really cool card. So, it lets you choose an opponent's monster or spell and trap zone. Then you detach any number of materials from this card, and if you do, you destroy that many cards your opponent controls that are in the chosen zone or in the monster zone or spell and trap to the top, bottom, or adjacent chosen zone. So it's kind of like, I think the theming here is like it's dropping in like some kind of missile and everything gets caught in the splash depending on how much material you detach from this thing. Also, and this is a ability that all the Sprigguns have, I already went over it a little bit with Merrymaker, but during the main phase, main or battle phase is a quick effect. Explorer can banish himself till the end phase. And that's all he really does. He's really cool removal. I do love the focus on zones with this archetype. Because that does get around some interesting targeting mechanics. But no, it's honestly really cool and a fantastic going second option if your opponent has a really big board, because you can just load this guy up with Xyz material and then go to town. Beyond that, though, our extra deck, the rest of it's pretty generic. We had the Nightmare package for removal, Boral Sword for OTKs, Baguska in case we absolutely cannot make a play for some reason, Tornado Dragon for a little spell trap root control, Utopia and Utopia the Lightning for monster removal, and AA Zeus because this is an Xyz deck, why wouldn't I be running that? And then we went over Steel Express Dragon already. Now for the side deck, though, it's also pretty basic. I mostly included things that I thought would be, nice for the sake of outs. Like we got a copy of Dragoon and VFD in here because extra deck space is a bit light in here, so we can just side in Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries if those come up. IP Masquerena, it's a hittable target, I guess, and it's just a really good card as well, so I stick with it. Heartbeat Feather Duster in case you want to go second. Dark Ruler No More in case we want to out big scary boards. Ash Blossom because some decks lose to Ash pretty easily. And Nibiru in case we want to drop the rock. But yeah, that's going to be the deck profile. So if you're new here, we just go over a few replays. I show you the deck's strengths and weaknesses, what I liked, what I didn't like, etc. and so forth. And yeah, all that being said, I'll see you guys in the first replay. Alright, welcome to the first replay with Tuffy. We are Tab, as per usual. Our opponent is playing a Neos variant, so that's pretty neat. And we have opened up surprisingly well here. We've opened up surprisingly well. But yeah, so this is basically like what the ideal turn 1 would be for this deck. But you guys are going to see that in action now, so let's get right into it. So we are going to go ahead and start by activating our Pod of Disparity, banishing 6. He's going to try to Ash it. We call by the Grave it. I mostly want to see if I can get a desert off of this Disparity, so then I could use my Spriggan's Watch to set up Graveyard as well as get a search. So, hit the Ash, which is nice. I don't think we actually get a desert here, but we do get a Terraforming, which is just as good because we know he has used his Ash for the turn. So we activate it, get our gold desert, activate it, then we go for the Spriggan's Watch, which is going to go ahead and add us a Peed and sending a Sargis. From there, we are going to use our Vast Desert in order to discard our Banger to summon Merrymaker, which will allow us to send something from deck to graveyard, which is going to go ahead and be our brothers, which will revive us our Sargis. like that. From there, we use Banger to go ahead and search the Sprigguns Blast because we do already have some things in hand that we can attach here. So we go ahead and attach Banger as well as Peed. So in case we just want to tag out, we do have the 2 to send Splend. And then we set the Sprigguns Blast for the negate. So here we have a tag out, a negate, a interruption. In Vast Desert, I forgot to mention, has one more effect. Well, if a face-up Xyz monster leaves the field because of a card effect, except during the damage step, you can target a monster your opponent controls, and it can't attack directly for the rest of this turn, even if this leaves the field. So the tag out effect is also going to sort of help us in the case of, them summoning something somewhat bigger and trying to attack over Merrymaker. So we're in a very good defensive position here. However, let's see what our opponent can do. Going to go ahead and draw the Convert to Contact. Fusion Deployment to get the Neos out, which is pretty sick. Then he's going to summon the Neo Space Connector, which I am going to go ahead and say no to with Sprigguns Blast because, that's basically his whole play. He is going to get the Miracle Contact off, though. Thankfully, we still have Sargis for the Interrupt, which we will be using now to go ahead and pop the Brave Neos. And from there, he's just going to set 2 cards and pass turn. Then it's on to us. So we are going to go ahead and draw our Golgonda, which is pretty lucky for us. Go ahead and attach another one to Merrymaker. Then we're just going to attack a couple times. I left Sargis in defense mode in case there was a rogue Mirror Force or something. So I wanted to be wary of that. However, it's now our opponent's turn, who is going to draw, get another Fusion Deployment, which is pretty good for them. Go ahead and get another Neos out, and then we're just going to pop it again, because, I don't want him doing that much. And then it's just going to be our turn, where I'm going to go ahead and activate the Sprigguns Watch to add a Rocky in case of recovery, send another to the graveyard, and use the Banger effect to get a Sprigguns Blast, just in case, I don't know, had something. I felt it was better to be safe than sorry here. So we got our Rocky in case we need to recover, we got our Blast. From there, we just attack with Golgonda for game. So, yeah, that was like the ideal turn 1. We had immediate access to both Banger and Sargis, which was very good for us. As well as the field spell, which is honestly like full combo with a few extra monsters in hand. However, it is much more usual that you only pull off one of these, which is sending Banger to get the Blast or setting up the Disruption. Both are good. It really just depends what situation you're in. And, so against slower decks, this deck is pretty unstoppable, honestly. It's very, very strong. But there are certain scenarios where this deck just can't keep up, or it's just not fast enough. But, I'll show you guys that in the next replay. See you there. Alright, welcome to the second and final replay with Playmaker. Again, we are Tab, and we are playing against, Drytron. It's basically Drytron. I know there are other cards here, but nope, it's Drytron. And we have not opened our field spell. We're a way to get to it, and our monsters are pretty bad to boot. We have infinite impermanences, which is okay, I guess, but like it's still awful. And now you're going to see what happens when you don't consistently have your field spell. So let's go ahead and get right into it, though. So our opponent will be going first, is going to go ahead and summon the L-Gam by tributing the Benton. Benton obviously going to give him a search, as well as L-Gamma. There you go, so went ahead and searched another Benton, activating the Meteonus Drytron to summon, I believe he goes for Natasha here. Summoning the Natasha. Natasha's own effect is going to kick in to give him 500, and he's going to pass on that. Now, for those of you who don't know what Cyber Angel Natasha is, let me tell you about Cyber Angel Natasha, because it's a very good and terrifying card, but no one plays it much until now. So let's go over it real quick. So, it can be ritual summoned with Machine Angel Ritual. Obviously, Meteoronus Drytron sort of works around that. And once returned, it lets you target a face-up monster you control and gain life points equal to half its attack. Then, when a ritual monster you control is targeted for attack, you can just negate the attack. And if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish another Cyber Angel monster from the grave to target a monster your opponent controls. You special summon this and take control of that monster. None of these are once per turn, by the way. So having like 3 Ben 10 and a Natasha is honestly a pretty decent engine. But yeah, no, let's see how we combat it, because we just drew our Sprigguns Blast, which isn't helpful to us whatsoever. So we're going to go ahead and negate the Natasha, summon the brothers, set 2 face down because I made a bad play, and that's going to be our turn. No field spell, so yeah, so our opponent's going to go ahead and continue to plus, getting the Herald of Orange Light, which is basically just like a hand trap. Going to go ahead and get back the Meteor on his Drytron by reducing something's attack a little bit. Or, actually, no, did he get the L Gamma back with the, yeah, sorry. So, no, he did get the Meteor on his Drytron. Then he's going to summon the Herald of Orange Light. Go ahead and link into Hulk. From there, we're going to negate Hulk, because why would we let Hulk resolve? I ask you that. So he's then going to go ahead and use the Natasha, banishing the Benton and Grave. We're going to go ahead and blast on that zone, so he can't use it. He's then going to go ahead and target Hulk to get some life points, and then he's going to go into a Borreload and start attacking. So we're in a very, very bad position here. Thankfully, we do have our Pot of Disparity, so we might be able to get something here, which we do. We do get something at the very least. So we add the Terraforming to go ahead and get our Golgonda onto the field, and we can finally start playing. We'll use it to discard Brothers to summon X-Blower. Then we're going to go ahead and start attaching things onto X-Blower. So we are able to, at this point, target that zone. Then we're going to detach 2 materials to blast away those, because that was directly there and there. Which will give us the ability to go ahead and get a little bit of damage in. So, you know, starting to turn things around somewhat slightly. Of course, the Natasha is still a bit of an issue. However, we are able to tag out our X-Blower to dodge the effect. He does get his Natasha still, but he does not take our X-Blower. At which point we're going to use Golgonda, because a Xyz monster was removed to keep Natasha from attacking. At this point, I'm basically just hoping that he doesn't have a way to kill me from here. He is then going to go ahead and get the L Gamma out by tributing the Fool. Then Meteor Striatron to go ahead and get the Fool out of the grave. Then he's going to get back his Drytron, as well as activating the Fool's effect, which is going to go ahead and tribute the Natasha for a level less Megalith. And then he's going to get his Drytron back. He's going to do that to go ahead and get Search and then discard a card. He's going to then summon Altes, which will go ahead and search him a Ban Alpha, which he's going to summon by discarding his Unicorn Necros. Then he's going to get the Ritual Monster, at which point he's going to go ahead and distribute his 2 boys to summon it. Thankfully, we don't... Yeah, he did trade it, so we did die this turn. Yeah, so this deck is awesome against decks that don't really have a lot of speed, move a lot more on the sort of slower side. However, the issue becomes that unless your opponent is totaling a grand amount of like 1 monster or 1 attack per turn, outside of getting like the ideal turn 1 or loading up X-Blower, you're not going to be doing much. So it's a fun deck. I do enjoy playing this deck. I just don't think it will ever be competitive on its own. I think it needs... Honestly, I think its biggest issue is how much it relies on the field spell. How much it relies on the field spell and how much setup is required to actually make relevant plays. I think that's the biggest problem with this deck. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think of Sprigguns. Is there any decks you want me to play? Anything you really want me to do for a video? I'm always open to suggestions. Yeah, like if you liked, comment if you had something to say, and subscribe if you want some more. This has been Ronin, signing off.